Tone Deaf is the journey of a musical theater nerd, bringing musicals into the life of their musically challenged spouse. The reactions to the musicals are real and mostly unedited. This show is for ages 14 and up, because sometimes you just need to use a swear. Now sit back, relax, and have a laugh. You're listening to Tone Deaf.
Welcome to Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for the musically challenged spouse. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren, and I'm musically challenged.
Today we're covering a show that I still can't believe Warren hasn't seen. So, what all do you know about The Sound of Music?
Sound of Music, I know that the hills are alive, with the sound of music, and Nazis.
Yes, that's two things that are indeed in The Sound of Music.
And thus concludes the extent of my knowledge.
Alright, so this one is going to be kind of an adaptation sandwich.
Okay.
So, The Sound of Music is based on the story of the Trapp family singers.
The Trapp family singers.
Yes, the Trapp family singers. T-R-A-P-P.
Okay, Trapp, not Trapped.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the version that we're watching is going to be the 1965 film, which is an adaptation of the Broadway play that came out in 1959, which is an adaptation of Maria von Trapp's memoirs, The Story of the Von Trapp Family Singers. So this is going to be an example of a based on a true story musical.
Adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation.
Yes, adaptations all the way down.
Okay, adaptation inception.
Yes.
Inceptation.
So, with it being based on a true story, there are going to be some liberties taken. A couple of them, Captain Von Trapp, who you're going to be seeing, is very different in real life compared to the musical. So I'm going to say that right now, because in real life, he was described as warm and loving, and in the show, he's kind of a hard butt.
Captain Von Trapp.
Yes, Captain Von Trapp.
He sounds like the antagonist to Captain Crunch. Like, I'll catch that captain and get his tasty crunch.
Oh, man. So, yeah, he's kind of not an antagonist, but he's sort of the strict father figure type instead of
no funds allowed
exactly,
under my roof.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I kind of wanted to tell you right from the jump, so that you weren't spending the whole musical going, gosh, this guy was a jerk. He wasn't a jerk.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's good to know.
History has not been kind to him. Or history of musicals has not been kind to him.
Yeah.
He deserves better than this.
Well, this is actually, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but this is one of the most culturally influential shows.
And I have not seen it.
And you have not seen it.
Which explains why I'm uncultured swine.
You are not uncultured swine. So, this one is not going to be a sung through.
Okay, so there will be parts where they just talk in normal dialogue like we're doing now.
Yes. And it's kind of a good thing, too, because you can kind of see sort of the tradition of breaking into song when there's no other way to describe an emotion. So that's kind of what music is for in shows like this.
But Father, I just want to sing.
Yes, exactly. It is kind of like that. Well, like that's kind of the build-up, sort of.
So people are just so overcome with emotion, they have no other way to express it other than to just break out into song.
Yes, however, so in this, we're also going to have moments where they actually are playing music as well. So, there's a reason why this is based on the Von Trapp family singers and not like the Von Trapp family donut bakers.
That's a musical I want to see.
The Von Trapp Family Donut Bakers. Maybe we can get them for a sponsor at some point or something.
That would be fantastic
That
because
would be.
they'll probably kick some free donuts my way, and you know I love me some donuts.
Yeah. With shows like this, this is your more stereotypical, we talk for a bit and then we sing. And then we talk for a bit and then we sing.
It's like every Disney musical ever.
Yes. Your Disney musicals, that's the same sort of thing. Now, this show was created by Rodgers and Hammerstein.
I am familiar with that name.
Yes, you are. Do you care to tell why you're familiar with them?
Yeah, I will probably get it wrong. Let's see. A King and I? Is that?
Yes, The King and I is theirs.
Okay. Is it also the crap? It's slipping in my mind. We are the very model of a major...
No.
Oh, dang it.
That one's Gilbert and Sullivan, who we will be covering later.
Dang it. Okay.
So they also did the show that you encountered in high school.
Carousel?
Yes. Yeah.
Suppressing rage.
Yeah.
Calming down.
Yeah. So they also did Carousel. This is much better than Carousel.
Anything is better than Carousel. A turd that you step on the street is better than Carousel. I would rather scrub crap out of the bottom of my shoes every day than have to listen to Carousel.
Okay, we will skip that show for sure.
No,
I did not like it either.
I want to tear that show to pieces at some point in the future.
At some point we will do that then. Just for you.
Just for me, because I'm selfish and I want it.
Warren versus Carousel fight.
No,
All
death
right.
match all the way.
So this show, in its first run, actually was really considered successful. It ran for 3 years consecutively, and then it has been revived and done movie adaptations and community theater productions and sing-alongs and all of that ever since. Which is another reason why I'm really surprised you've never seen this.
I don't know. I really don't. I just... Yeah, you and everybody else that... You've never seen The Sound of Music? Yes, I've never seen The Sound of Music. I know. Hang me up by my ankles and beat me like a piñata until apologies fall out of me.
So, this show is, like I said, heavily influenced by other musicals of the time, which means it's a little bit more whimsical than the source material.
Well, it does deal with Nazis.
Yeah.
So...
Which, we'll be going into that later, but they do take some liberties there, too. Though not where you think.
So, the Nazis are not heroes, right?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. They're not heroes at all in the story. It's just...
good.
They do... They did... Well, I don't want to spoil it.
Are the Von Trapps Jewish?
No.
Okay.
No, but the children did have, classmates who were Jewish. And they were very anti-Nazi. The Von Trapps were. And so that's going to lead to some conflict. But they do add in some extra conflict with people that they know that it didn't actually happen that way. And in fact, character names are changed and... the kids' names, half of them are not the right name.
Well,
and
you can't make a musical without breaking a few fact eggs.
Yeah, and they actually call George Von Trapp Baron, but he was actually a Ritter, which is a knight.
I'm actually have heard the term Baron Von Trapp before.
Yeah, and he wasn't a baron; he was a knight, basically.
But he was, what was the word you said?
Ritter.
Ritter.
So, they also leave out...
Ooh, I want to be Ritter von Warren from now on.
Ritter von Warren.
Ritter von Warren.
They also leave out the period of time where they dealt with the Great Depression, and they in fact kind of move everybody's story up a few years, even though...
The Depression Oh, sorry.
Some stuff that happened to the Von Trapps in the show actually take place earlier than they put it. But the Great Depression, putting it into a musical, unless you're Annie, it's probably not going to be fun to watch.
When you say the Great Depression, you're talking about the U.S. one or the one in Germany before World War II?
The global.
Oh.
Because the U.S. wasn't the only one affected by the Great Depression in the 30s.
What? You
Yes.
mean the U.S. isn't the center of the universe?
No,
Oh.
it isn't. Shockingly, I know.
I know.
But yeah, they were affected by it. And we'll go into more of that later. So there's two cast members of this show who you might know. Maybe. Julie Andrews.
That name is familiar, but I can't put a face to it.
All right, you will soon. And Christopher Plummer is Baron von Trapp.
I know that you like a Christopher Plummer. I also cannot put a face to the name.
Beautiful Mind. Return of the Pink Panther. The sixth Star Trek. He was the pigeon in An American Tale and the evil owl in Rock-a-Doodle.
I know the voice based
Okay.
on those, but
Okay.
I still can't put a face to the name.
So,
I feel like I can feel the rage of people just seeping into me as they listen, and I am sorry. I am really sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. This is an educational thing. So, he actually didn't do the singing voice in this. Christopher Plummer didn't.
So he just did the speaking roles.
He did the speaking roles.
And then he had a stunt voice, a stunt singer.
Yes, and you'll actually find this happening too. I believe when we do My Fair Lady, if I remember right, that was the case. And we're going to be watching a show that lampoons it. Wink.
That was ominous.
It'll be fun.
Okay.
You'll like it.
I trust you.
Maybe. So like I said, this show is really culturally significant. In fact, the Library of Congress had it put in there as a culturally significant work.
You keep saying that, and it makes me just feel more and more like a plebeian.
Well, no, you're fine. I mean, you do remember that they've referenced it in Family Guy.
Yeah, and other things that I've seen. Like, I've seen... This is the theme with me, is that I don't know the source material of a lot of musicals. I just know the parodies that have crept up throughout the years in other media that I've watched.
And now you'll have an even richer appreciation, and then when we're watching Popsicle Shtick on Seth Meyer, you will laugh just as hard as I do.
You lost it. You lost it.
I absolutely lost it with this one, and with another one that we're going to be doing soon, and I'm kind of excited about it, but kind of not. All right, so we're going to take a quick ad break, and then we're going to come back after Warren figures out how to solve a problem like Maria. Well, due to Warren's read of our sponsors last week, and the anger from the Ginger Tabby Commission, we unfortunately lost a sponsor and will only have 2 this week.
I had no idea that the president of McCavities had a ginger baby who was currently being indicted for crimes against humanity. There's no way I could have known, and I apologize sincerely to all ginger babies out there.
Also, the Ginger Tabby Commission was very upset with the implication that they were the same as human children, because ginger tabbies, like all other cats, believe that they are greater than us. And so by a way of saying we are sorry to the Ginger Tabby Commission, I will just say that yes, cats are not dogs. Our first sponsor is the Lonely Goat Herd Hotel. This scenic respite is perched high on a hill and is soundproof to keep the yodeling out. You can lady yodel, lay your head down on the comfortable feather pillows and drift off to dreamland. You okay? In the morning is a continental breakfast with scrambled eggs, goat's milk, and a roast of one of the goats that was on the hill the night before. Lonely Goat Herd Hotel. Yodel love what we've done with the place.
Our other sponsor is the Favorite Things Emporium. At the Favorite Things Emporium, we have all of your favorite things. Our kettles are made from pure, bright copper, and our woolen mittens are only somewhat itchy. Craving snowflakes on your nose and eyelashes? We have them here. Shop now and get our humanely sourced kitten whiskers at 50% off. We sure have all of your favorite things.
All right. Be sure to check out our Twitter at Tone Deaf Musical and rate us on iTunes and subscribe to our podcast wherever podcasts are sold. So, what did you think of that one?
That was 2 hours going on 3 hours. Holy crap, that's long.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So, it was funny when we were sitting down to watch it, because we rented it on
Amazon.
And rented it on Amazon. And we're getting ready to watch it, and it says 3 hours and 44 minutes. And my jaw hit the floor. And I was like, holy crap, this is way long. And, of course, Kay was like, I don't remember being that long. And we're just kind of like, well, I guess we'll finish around midnight, you know, because we started it at 7:30. Mm-hmm. And we're planning for bathroom breaks and taking the dog outside and whatnot. But we get done with it and realize that there was about 45 minutes left. And we realize, oh, well, apparently, since we rented it, they had a bunch of extras, which we may go back and watch, because they seemed interesting, but not tonight, because it's late, and we want to record this while it's fresh in our minds.
Yes.
So, I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Good.
I did like it. It was nice to see the original source material. Mm-hmm. For all of the parodies that I've seen ever since I was a young child.
Yeah.
Of course, it opens up with a woman spinning in the middle of nowhere, singing about how the hills are alive with the sound of music. And I felt like shouting at her, the song is The Wind because you're in the middle of nowhere and hills don't sing. She then rushes off after realizing she's late to a penguin convention.
Oh, God.
Which turns out to be a bunch of nuns. So I thought it was interesting. Nuns all singing about how she's great and wonderful and also a pain in the butt. And because she's flighty and fancy-free and can't keep her feet on the ground and her head out of the clouds, the head nun, I'm going to call her the great-grand nun. Was it Reverend?
The Mother Superior.
Mother Superior. Was it Reverend Mother?
Yes, Reverend Mother Superior.
Reverend Mother, Great Superior, Alpha Prime, Omega.
So, fun fact. So, my mom was raised Catholic. I wasn't, but I know enough about Catholicism. So, it's kind of fun being able to be like, oh, see, if their habits have a white wimple, then that means that they're, novices. They're the novices, and, the more seasoned nuns. I shouldn't say seasoned. That's not the right word.
They go great with some barbecue sauce.
Oh, no.
So you have the white-headed nuns, which are the fledglings. They haven't quite grown into the adult nuns. They haven't gotten their deep black of the hood.
Mm-hmm. But, it was kind of fun watching all of that stuff, especially hearing all of the mass in Latin and all of that. That was nice.
Yeah, because you actually took Latin.
Yes,
in school.
I took Latin for several years because I liked it. But I do have to make a correction from earlier in the podcast when I called Von Trapp George, it's Georg. I took Latin, not Austrian.
Was it Georg or yeah? Okay, yeah,
it
was Georg. They kept calling him Georg, and my brain is just like, it's George.
Yeah,
no, not in Austria. But it was just made me laugh how they're in Austria, pronouncing things in a German way, but in British accents.
Yeah.
Every one of them. So that always makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But we digress. Maria, the protagonist, the chosen one of the penguins.
The chosen one of the penguins.
Is too flighty and is sent away to decide whether or not this is really the life that she wants. And, spoilers, of course it's not, because no offense to any nuns listening, but I would think being a nun is kind of boring, but there's a life of adventure out there and rich, eligible bachelors for you to marry.
Some nuns can fly, though.
That sounds like a bunch of nonsense.
We're doing that one, too.
So when she goes to the Casa de Von Trapp, I didn't like him initially, but you warned me of that.
Yeah.
A little bit. And when he started shrieking on that whistle, it scared our dog. So thanks, Sound of Music. You freaked out an animal. I appreciate that. No, not really. Our poor dog, she is so sweet, but she will be laying near us, and then the TV gets really, really loud, and she gets up and looks at us like, you realize I have very sensitive ears, and this is very loud to me.
Yeah.
Then she walks away, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, sweetie.
Oh, she was not okay with this one.
Yeah.
She was okay with cats for the most part, but not this one.
Well, she likes cats.
Yeah, she likes cats.
But she doesn't like Nazis, just like any thinking, feeling
Exactly.
entity.
We're raising our daughter right.
Yes. And, so see, so...
Speaking of Nazis, how did you feel about, Rolf?
He makes me want to Ralph. He makes me want to throw up. I don't like old, young, towhead delivery boy thing, whatever. He looked weird. I don't know if it's the way that actor looks or if it is the makeup that they did, but he looked like one of those pictures where if you take like a baby and then you try to CGI what it would look like as an old man.
Oh no.
And then if you were to mesh those two pictures together, because he looked like a 20-year-old old man.
I will never be able to look at him the same way.
He did not look right. I don't know if they like bleached his eyebrows and his hair to make him look more Aryan or what. He did not look right. So
no, he didn't. And
I don't know what his deal was, but Rolf and his whole, you're just a silly girl. You need me to tell you what to do, and her compliance with that. I mean, sure, you can make the argument that it was the times and women just don't know what to do without a man telling them what to do. Mm-hmm. But that kind of made me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite songs in The Sound of Music, honestly.
Yeah, I agree
do
with
like
that.
the reprise of it, though, with Maria and Liesl singing it after Liesl realizes that Rolf is a Rolf.
See, and I think that was a really good way of doing a reprisal, because, you know, it means one thing the first time, and then when it comes around the second time, it's like, yeah, we all make mistakes. Like, it has a very different tone, and I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Max... Initially, I wrote down Max is a weasel and a Nazi. I take that back. I apologize to Max. I didn't like him at first.
Yeah.
But he redeems himself by the end. He becomes a stand-up guy.
So, fun fact.
Still a greedy asshole, but...
Max doesn't exist.
Really?
He was made up for the movie.
He's a fabrication.
Yeah, he's a fabrication. So, the character that he kind of is their family priest, who ended up...
Okay.
Because, you know, some people have, like... It's kind of like how you'll have the visiting teachers and stuff. But...
So I didn't mean to scoff at the idea of a family priest. It's just the way that they turned him into a money-grubbing,
yeah,
like, who can I steal to exploit to make money off of?
I can't remember the guy's actual name, but he was a priest. He lived with the Von Trapps, and he did kind of become their manager, and he actually fled Austria with them. So, yeah.
Neat. I appreciate the tidbits of factual-based knowledge. I have Captain Von Trapp down here as Captain Curmudgeon. Captain Curmudgeon hates fun.
Yes. No fun allowed.
Yeah, Captain Von Trapp... he redeems himself, of course. He's got some depth. I mean, he's a stern military guy who lost his wife and, in order to maintain his manliness, just shut himself away and had to be stern with his children because that's the only way he knows to show love is by giving them order and discipline.
and he's totally different in real life.
Yes, you were telling me that he's actually a very nice
Yeah,
guy.
he was a nice guy. He was in his 40s when he married Maria, who was 22.
Probably not uncommon for the time.
Not uncommon at all for the time.
I imagine, so was the rest of it like he was a former Navy
Yes.
officer, so he probably had a decent commission and probably was rather...
Yeah, he
well
was
set
rather
up.
well off. The actual home that they lived in was not that
big
giant mansion.
Big sprawling mansion.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that.
I was going to say, I was like, dang, what does the Austrian military pay their officers?
Yeah, no, he wasn't. It wasn't that big.
I was like, okay, he was an officer. Did he also, like, sell gold on the side? Did they have an oil rig in the backyard, too? I mean...
Well, and, like I had said, the movie takes liberties with time periods, too, because Maria and Georg ended up getting married in 1927. The movie takes place in 1938. Like, everything that happens in the movie takes place in 1938.
Yeah, the movie felt like... Because you have the whole you're 16 going on 17. I felt like by the time the movie was over, it should have been like, you are 30 going on 31. Holy crap, this is long.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, while we were watching the movie, I kept thinking, Liesel looks much older than she's supposed to be playing, which is not uncommon for someone in their 20s to be playing a 16, 17, 18-year-old. That's just acting. However... I made you look it up while we were watching. She is older than Maria.
Yes. So, Julie Andrews was born in 1947. And the actress who played Liesel, her name was... I had it written down here. Her name was Charmaine Carr. She was born... So, Julie Andrews was born 1947. Charmaine Carr was born 1942. Yeah. And she actually passed away a couple of years ago, which is pretty sad, but...
Yeah, but still, that just blew me away, because I knew that she was older than the character she was portraying, which, that's fine, I'm not going to gripe about that.
Common.
But the fact that she was older than the woman playing her nanny / stepmom?
Yeah.
Like, that blew me away.
Well, remember, teenagers don't look like teenagers on TV.
Yeah, teenagers don't look like teenagers on TV. You gotta use adults.
Yep, and if you need an adult, you just tape a bunch of cats together.
I was gonna say you tape a bunch of toddlers together.
Oh, that works too.
Gluing works better because the tape falls apart when they move around. And, I thought that the Baroness, the supposed stepmother, who, she was setting up to be the evil stepmother.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna turn out to be a Nazi.
Yeah, she just sort of disappears.
Yeah, she just sort of disappears, but there is a brief period, I have it down written here, I called her Baron von Bitchface. And her junior high manipulations with...
Yeah.
Oh, you're so young and pretty, Maria. You can't help a man for noticing how beautiful you are. It's just silly that he thinks that he's in love with you. He needs a real woman like me to...
Yeah, those lines ticked me off.
But, gotta have the conflict, gotta drive her away so that she realizes and she comes back.
Well, and that's another weird thing with this is, sorry to shatter this for anyone who loves this story. The real story, yes, Maria's hired on as a governess, and they do get married, but it wasn't out of love. It was because Georg needed a wife to take care of his kids, and Maria needed the stability, and she also just loved these kids. So she even says in her memoirs that she married him so that she could have the kids, and then later fell in love with him.
That actually is kind of cute, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I've ever heard of something being like that where, this person's okay, but their kids, I just adore their kids, and I want to be a mother to their children, and the husband is secondary. Like,
yeah,
I actually think that's kind of sweet. Like, because that those kids probably loved her too, and they were, And of course, for Georg, if he's a good father, he wants his kids to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But I did love when Georg broke up with, what was her name? The Baroness? I'm just going to call her Baroness.
Baroness, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember her name. She didn't leave that much of an impression on me other than her big forehead and her resting bitch face. But I loved when he was breaking up with her and she did the whole, it's not me, it's you. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with me. You're not breaking up with me. I'm breaking up with you. I need a man who is just head over heels in love with me and just needs me or needs my money.
Yeah, that last bit was the part that I was
sure
like,
that was a joke.
I don't like you.
I'm sure it was a joke on her point because she's like, oh, I might be able to get some super handsome young man who wants me for my money and he'll be my boy toy. That's kind of how I interpreted that.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but what does that say?
Bellboy dies? Was that? Oh, that was the bell ringer. You were laughing.
Oh, yes.
At
So,
that.
thank you. You interpreted my note better than I did. It is late and we are tired. And I have terrible handwriting. So when Captain Von Trapp and... Well, I know his name. Georg. When Georg and Maria are getting married, there's a scene with a bellboy just going up and down on the big church bells, and he's just full-on dangling. He looks like he's in a panic. And I just kept thinking that boy is going to die. Like, he's going to fall down the bell tower and be a curse splat. But we don't ever see what happens to him, so I'm going to say he does die, because we don't ever see anything to the contrary. Rest in peace, bellboy. The first 2/3 of the movie were a fun musical, and then it became a goose-stepping bummer. The transition immediately into, and the Nazis have taken over Austria. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
hard right. I don't...
To speak. I didn't say that.
Oh, you're funny. Yeah, I mean, I know it's part of the story and it's a thing, but I was actually really enjoying the movie up to that point. I don't want to say that I don't like the movie after that.
Yeah.
I don't like the movie as much after that. Because I don't like Nazis. Yeah. I love the whole... We need to remind people that nothing in Austria has changed. Austria is exactly the same as it was. Nothing has changed. You will sing. You will be happy. We are all happy Austrians.
Yeah, that was one of those things that I was going, oh, yikes.
Yeah, and I didn't like Zeller the moment that they showed him. Like, he was first at the party at the Von Trapp Manor, complaining about there being an Austrian flag in the house in Austria. Le gasp.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be like someone coming into the United States and being like, what? You don't have a Canadian flag hanging in your house? That man he's proof that the Nazis experimented with genetic manipulation because he is the first human turd hybrid. Did not like him at all. He was a great villain, though. He was the kind of character you love to hate.
Yeah.
And any good movie really needs to have characters that you love to hate.
Yeah, and watching it this time with, things the way they are, I was actually more tense than I ever was watching it when I was younger.
That might be one of the reasons that I disliked it towards the end, was because of current events and speaking of human turd hybrids.
I was...
Further detail on that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they try to escape and end up getting caught, and then they're doing their performance in front of everybody at the festival, and that was a nice part. I did like Max's redemption there. Cody kind of like softball to the crowd that, yes, the captain will be taken to go serve in the Navy of the Third Reich, and everybody being like,
yeah, I loved that moment.
So I thought that was good. For me, that was when Max had his redemption moment, even if he did kind of taint it a little bit by going, I could have made so much money off of you. But that's his character. He cares about money. That's his dynamic. What's in it for me.
Yeah.
And then, you had the hiding scene. The nuns were great. But then, of course, teenage hormones, gasp, Ralph is a Nazi! And then
Yeah.
he hangs back because he's a sneaky one and catches them as they're coming out of hiding.
God, I hate Ralph.
Ralph. Let's call him Ralph. No, there's plenty of nice people named Ralph. Let's call him Puke.
Puke.
Yeah.
I don't like Puke.
I don't like Puke either. Rolf, I have it in here in my notes, Rolf the goose-stepping ass clown, which I think is way too kind. I wanted to put down something else, but I'm trying to keep my language under control for this podcast. I don't like him. I did love the whole, you'll never be one of them. And then his just like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Lieutenant, they're here! And then they go to chase them and find out that the nuns have sinned most grievously by sabotaging the Nazi cars.
I love that scene so much.
Not Nazis, the nuns. The penguins are the real MVPs.
Mm-hmm. Good penguins.
Good penguins.
You always got to have a nun have your back.
Hey, they are divine. They're divine, yeah.
Yep.
That was God. They were doing God's work there.
They were. So, a fun fact with that ending escape, none of that happened either.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
When they were showing them escaping into the mountains, I was like, okay, we're going to have a whole nother scene of them surviving in the mountains on foot until they get to safety.
No.
And then the movie just ends with them in the mountains, and I was kind of surprised. I was really surprised that they chose to end it there, because my brain is like going, oh, we're not going to see the after part where they're forced to eat some of the children in order to make it, because they're walking in the frickin' mountains on foot, no camping equipment, no survival gear. Like, somebody's gonna die. Somebody's gonna die.
Do you want to know how it really happened?
Let me take a guess. At least I'm going to say that they were smuggled across one of the borders at some point. Okay.
Nope.
Well, I'm wrong.
So, Georg was asked to join, well, not asked. He was told to join.
He was voluntold.
Yeah, he was voluntold to join the Third Reich's Navy. And at the time, they did not have money. Period. And so he was really tempted, but he just could not do it because he absolutely despised the idea of working for that regime.
He didn't want to compromise his morals.
He didn't want to compromise his morals at all. And
respect.
So their home was not too far from a train station. So they just walked to the train station, boarded the train, and went to Italy. And then from Italy, they came to the U.S. and started their tours.
Glad they didn't get stuck in Italy with Mussolini.
Yeah, they left Italy pretty quickly from the stuff I was reading. But yeah, it's kind of I can see why they changed the ending, because how just anticlimactic would that have been? Because it wasn't even from a concert. It was just they left their house to the train station, boarded the train. And I mean, it's still stressful as heck. Yeah. But it's not the climbing onto the train, or it's not the climbing up a mountain stressful. It's the getting onto a train and being like, oh, nothing to see here. We're just going to Italy.
Especially in the current political climate of America, I really want a gif of Georg pulling down the Nazi flag from his house and just ripping it in half. I could watch that part on repeat for a while.
I have that gif.
You do?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
I have that gif, so we will...
I need to save that to my phone, and I can just pull it out every now and then.
Yeah, it's an awesome gif.
Yeah, yeah. Good man, Georg. The one thing, though, is, in his situation, I couldn't help but think, if you know that your home had been taken over by Nazis, I think being sly probably would have gotten him further. If you'd have been like, oh yeah, sure, I'll join. I got to do this thing with my family, but then I'll go join.
Yeah.
And then when they think, okay, cool, he's on board, then you slip away.
Yeah, the way that they wrote it made it seem like it was a case of you're going tonight, because it was poor timing on his part because he was off on his honeymoon.
True.
And then gets back and it's like, oh, tonight you're reporting to join the Navy.
And talk about a kick in the teeth. Like, can you imagine if on our honeymoon, all of a sudden, I got, like, a call saying, oh, you've been drafted to go serve in the military? Wouldn't that just be the... It's like, I'm enjoying time with my wife.
Yeah.
My new wife. I don't wanna go join your messed up fan club.
Yeah, it was... Oof. And I really, watching it this time, because I watched it a lot when I was really young, but one of the things that I didn't appreciate as a kid as much was just the way that music was used in this, especially towards the end. I almost started crying with Edelweiss at the end.
Oh, when he's singing...
Yes, when he's singing...
He starts to. And that's when Maria and the rest of the family come in and kind of save him a bit.
And I almost lost it there, and I've never cried with this movie.
You know, now that I think about it, that I think I thought about it when I was watching it initially, but then everything else in the movie was happening, so it kind of slipped my mind. Mm-hmm. But that is a really powerful scene, because he's singing about a flower that's native to his homeland, and... encouraging other people, I hope, he said that's a love song.
Yeah.
And telling people, I hope that you never lose that.
Yeah.
And just trying to invoke the patriotism for his people to not let their country fall victim to fascism. This fascist regime that is spreading. And he starts to get kind of choked up about it. And it definitely was a powerful scene. And I think that they did a really good job of not hanging on that too long, because they could have, some filmmakers will drag out dramatic scenes to the point of nauseam. I felt like the timing and the pacing and this movie was really well done. I can see why it's in the Library of Congress. I can see why it's referenced as much as it is. I can see why I have seen so many spoofs and parodies of it, because it is really good. You heard me when we were taking potty breaks and letting the dog out. Like, I'm sitting here walking around humming the songs we've listened to. Like, it was really good. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I found, even though we were tired and initially we were like, holy crap, this is going to be almost 4 hours long, like, I was enjoying the movie a lot.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm glad we watched it. It was a good one.
Yay! So that was The Sound of Music. Join us next week for a show that Warren unfortunately was introduced to via Stanley Kubrick.
The memories still haunt me.
I'm so sorry. We'll be having a little journey into the history of film as we tackle Singin' in the Rain.
Yay!
Thank you so much for listening. We truly hope you enjoyed this. Please follow us on Twitter at Tone Deaf Musical and like, share, and subscribe.
If you loved it, tell your friends and spread the word. If you want to go above and beyond, please donate to our Patreon, which is also Tone Deaf Musical.
That's it for this week. We love you. I'm Kay.
I'm Warren.
And this has been Tone Deaf.